Do you know the biggest Black female developer here in Houston, Texas? What about Texas in general? Or what about the country? Well, I do, and her name is Vanessa Cole, and she graced us with her presence at the last Copy and Construction Development Summit. And now you are going to have the opportunity to watch her line by line, painstaking detail, go through her entire development stack for a new affordable home community right here in Houston. And get this, it's 3D printed. It's so exciting. It's so innovative. I'm so excited to share it with you. So buckle up and get ready for this episode of Build with Brittany. We're going to give Vanessa 5 minutes, and then she is going to come up and she's going to start talking about the Zuri project. It is a 3D printed home community, an affordable housing community, the first here in Houston. I'm super excited about it. Honestly, Vanessa has been such a wealth of knowledge. If you follow women in real estate, you've probably seen her at multiple events. I just did a podcast with her maybe a week ago that's up on Instagram. And she is incredible at putting all the pieces together, explaining how large-scale development works, because there are very few people of color and even fewer women of color in large-scale development. And she just gives away the game for free. She's not selling anything, she doesn't have a program, she doesn't have a course. She just shows up to add value and to support the women in the room, women and men, but especially the women in the room. And so I'm always so grateful, so thankful for her knowledge, her mentorship, her tutelage, and her just genuine heart to support. So I'm going to put my slides back up because I have her pictures on my slide. But give us just 2 seconds and I'll bring her to stage.
So hello everyone, my name is Vanessa Cole. For those of you I have not had the pleasure to meet, I am co-founder of Coastline Builders. We specialize in land development and affordable housing here in Houston. Currently, we have about 900 lots under development in 6 communities. And one of our projects, which is a 40-acre site, we're developing for the nation's largest builder, which is D.R. Horton. And we're developing Houston's first 3D printed community. So I am busy, I am tired, I am all the things, but we keep moving. All right, so does everybody have the handout? Not yet. So today I'm going to go over the 3D print project. And if you have questions at any time, please feel free to ask. My hope is that you actually walk away with something valuable. Okay, let's hop on over to page 3. And mind you, I am trying to condense 3.5 years of this project into 3.5 pages. So I'm sorry for the fine print. Okay, so show me the money, right? What are we making on this project? I'm one of those meat and potatoes type of people. Like, how much money are you making? Show me the numbers. So if you look at the top, it says net cash flow, $7.4 million. That's how much we're making on this originally 18-acre site that we're going to build 80 homes on. Okay? The project cost is $20 million. So that's how much it's costing me to buy the land, develop the land, build the homes. A $20 million project. My revenue is $27 million. So $27 million minus $20 million is the $7 million that we're making. Everybody following? Yeah. Perfect. So I have 30 investors on this project. I raised that money by just calling all of my friends and family and my contacts. And I'm like, I need money. I need money for a project. One of my friends is a banker at Chase. He's on the private wealth management side. And he was like, yeah, I actually have a retired a friend. He's a retired CEO from oil and gas, and he just sold his apartment complex, and him and his investors are looking for a new project. I said, perfect time, right? So we did like 3 in-person meetings with him so he could see if he was comfortable with us. And then we had about 3 Zoom calls with his investor team. And next thing you know, we set up a special purpose entity, which is the legal version of what we structured. And then they started wiring the money and we closed on the land. So we're splitting the profit share. I'm splitting 50% of that 7.4 million with those 30 investors, okay? So if you look at this little blue chart, thank you to ChatGPT, helped me create that. So if you see the investment, it says 10,000. The 30 investors, they invested, I think the smallest amount was like 25K, but up to like 2 million. We raised 5 million. So in the gray is what they invested, and the blue is what they're projected to make. So it would be a 74% return on their investment. Everybody following so far? Any questions? Yes, ma'am.
What was the time frame for the return on investment?
The time frame, it's like a 2-3 year time frame from when they invested, with the exception of one of the reimbursements is like a 15-year, but I'll get into that later. But the bulk of their money is coming within 2 to 3 years. And that's where that IRR comes in. So that's a good question, because a lot of people you hear like, okay, what's the ROI, right? The ROI is how much are you making on that money, but the IRR is how long did it take you to get that money? How fast did you get that money back? And that's a 35 to 55% return. Okay, now let's go to the page in front. So project scope, timeline, financial breakdown. Okay, it's in, obviously, Houston, Texas. It's 10 minutes from Hobby Airport. So like I said, this was originally 18 acres. And where is my site plan? My site plan isn't up here. It was originally 18 acres, and we sold 5 of the 18 acres to the Houston Parks Department. So when you're doing projects like this, you're talking to everybody. But you'll find out that there's some different buckets of money that developers can tap into to get reimbursed on their infrastructure, right? And what's your infrastructure? It's that underground network, right? Your water pipes, your sewer pipes, your drainage, your detention. Well, we were talking to an entity called the Gulf Gate TERS, and we were asking, hey, what do you guys offer developers who are coming in and building affordable housing? So they told us what they offered, and then they also said, this area is in a park desert. Could you sell us some of your land? And we said yes, right? Now, originally, we were supposed to sell it for $1 million, but we renegotiated to $750K. But anywho, there's a lot of programs or entities out there. You just have to find them, and it does take time. So, it is so dark in here, and then this fine print doesn't help. But the pie chart in yellow, that's my land acquisition. We have light over the tables too.
Vanessa, question.
Yes.
So your original acquisition was, you said 18 acres?
Original size of the land was 18 acres.
And you
yes.
sold, the portion that you sold to the park department, did you sell that for the amount that you paid, or did you make a profit on that, or was it kind of like took a cut just because of who?
Yes, the 5 acres that we sold to the Parks Department is going back that's in that $7 million.
Okay, got it.
for us and the investors to split.
Well, the question was cost per acre. When you sold it to them, did you sell it to them at a profit, or did you kind of just with a wash?
Oh, I can't recall the exact like price per acre. I can't recall.
Okay, no worries.
I think it was for appraised value.
Okay.
I do know that.
Thank you.
Yes. So the land cost, so let's look under project costs. The land cost to buy the 18 acres was $3 million. And I have a 15% next to it. And if you look at the pie chart under this fine print, it says land acquisition, the norm is between 15 to 25%. Can y'all see that fine print?
Yeah.
Perfect. Because I wanted you guys to understand, like, what is industry norm, right? How much should one pay for land? And typically it's around 15 to 25%. The next line item in orange is the infrastructure development costs. That's $3.7 million. Once again, that's for our water lines, our sewer lines, our drainage, our roads, and that's 18% of my total project costs. And the industry norm is 15 to 25%. So far, so good, right? Okay, now let's move on to the red. The red is the 3D-printed construction costs, 56%. Industry norm, 45 to 60%. So 11 million. Now, we are getting our, okay, so let me back up. The land costs and the infrastructure costs, how am I paying for that? Well, we raised 5 million from the investors, and the city is giving me 2.1 million in infrastructure reimbursements. And that's how I'm paying for the land and the development costs.
And was that due to you selling part of that, those 5 acres to the Parks and Recreation, or does that had nothing to do?
That had nothing to do. The question was the park sale, was that like contingent upon me getting the money? It had nothing to do with it. It was just icing on the cake. And now the 11.3 million, all of that doesn't come at once. That's when I go to build. And I'll be building probably like 10 or 15 homes at a time. And so we have a good relationship with the bank, and that's going to be part of our construction draws. So there's no 11.3 million that was sent somewhere. Just when we start those houses, that house packed, we'll draw on that money. Yes.
When you say the city gave you 2.1, is it a grant, or is that part of, like, you have to give it back like you did with the money you raised?
The question is the 2.1 million grant, or the 2.1 million that the city gave me, is it a grant or does it have to be paid back? It's a grant forgivable loan.
Okay.
So per my contract with the city, if I do what I said I'm going to do, which is develop and build this community, it will be forgiven, that 2.1. If I don't do what I say I'm going to do, I have a bond that I have to put up, and the city will go to a surety company and exercise that bond and get paid back, because they pay me in draws. So meaning I have to hit certain milestones in order to get that 2.1 billion, right? I have to put in, so it was 25, 50, 25. I had to complete 25% of the infrastructure, and I got 25% of that 2.1. 50%, yeah. Yes, sir.
Explain to them why the city would give you money for developing a project.
The question is, why would the city give you 2.1 million? That's a great question. So all the questions are great, by the way. So under the previous administration, things can get political. Things can get political. And so under the previous administration, and rest in power, Mayor Turner, he was amazing. He wanted a legacy after he left to have said that he built 3,000 homes during his term. But he started this, or he really pushed it towards the end of his term. So literally the last 5 months, he was like, I gotta say I had 3,000 homes on the ground. The city had issued, so this 2.1 million came out of a $35 million bond out of one of the TERs. The city has like 27 TERs, if I'm not mistaken. It came out of the Uptown TERs bond, and the mayor said, put that 35 million into housing projects. Find developers now, give them what they need, and go. Because I need to say I have 3,000 homes that I built. This is my take of the story. So the housing department, and then let me get back up too. So to answer your question, it was political. There was money, it was part of his legacy, and they had to find projects fast. I lost my train of thought or something else I was going to say. But anyway, did that answer that?
Yeah.
Okay. I have so much in my mind, you don't understand.
What were the requirements of the bank?
The bank, so for my $11 million loan,
Yes.
relationships. You gotta have relationships. So my business partner had a really great relationship with an owner of the bank. And he actually, he's still a loan officer. And so before I got to this type of projects, I was just building 5 homes, 10 homes, and they were my lender. And just doing a good job, they trusted us. So they said, yeah, we'll back you on this. Yes.
I like the idea of the government, providing funding or grants for you to build. And can you explain that process? Like, were you amongst the several that they were going to call? Did you submit yourself for this opportunity?
Great question. So the question is, I guess, how did you get in the process or the pipeline of getting access to this money? Yeah, I found out about it through another program that I was building in. Oh, that was where I was going to go. Yeah, okay. So when I was smaller at the time, the program told me about it, and I submitted 2 of my own projects, and I submitted with that entity. We got denied on all 3. And the person I was talking to at the city was like, yeah, it looks good, you got a 99.9% chance of getting approved. I'm like, cool. Man, we got that letter, it was like, thank you, but no thank you, right? And I was like, dang, we worked so hard. But then a year later, back up. We got denied and we appealed. And so when you appeal, you get to speak with some of the people that denied you. And we were just like, why did we get denied? We're doing a good job out here. And they were like, well, one, we really don't know you. You really don't have a big track record like these other developers we know. They said my proposal wasn't wordy enough. This was before ChatGPT, so I didn't have enough words. And we were like, okay, but that appeal gave us an opportunity to tell them who we are, build rapport. This is what we do. This is who we've been building for. Here's some of our recommendation letters. So we still were denied. Fast forward a year later, some of the other developers couldn't get their projects off the ground. And the mayor was putting a lot of pressure on the housing department to get these deals done. And so they called me a year later and said, hey, Vanessa, do you still have those projects? I'm like, I sure do. But now, my negotiation leverage was much different, right? I was like, I need you to be flexible with this. Now I need more money. How fast you want me to go, but you gotta pay for it, So the great thing is now they were being more collaborative. They had pressure from the mayor's office. And that's how I found out about it through another program. But it took time. It hurt. Oh, it hurt. And I got denied. It hurt. Not gonna lie. Okay. Any other questions?
So you said it took a year, and in that time frame, did you just still had those projects sitting? Because I mean, if you've got land costs, you've got, as far as debt service and those type of things, then a lot can happen in a year, and a lot of people will lose a project in a year if they can't get funding for it. So how did that?
Great question. So he's asking, like, during that year, what were my holding costs? What was I doing on those projects? We don't close on land until we get as far down in entitlements as possible, to where I know for sure we have like a permit coming. So the 18 acres, we had another group of investors just purchase it originally, because that's a whole other story. So it was not under our name, so it did not have any holding costs. And then the 43 acres, the seller was patient and he wanted top dollar and nobody was paying for it. And the only way it worked was with the city's subsidy to make the numbers work. So I definitely encourage, you want to buy as much time, or like Kevin said earlier, that runway, that lead time, you want to get as far down the road as possible before you close on that land. And we don't put any debt on our land. We only buy it with cash. Because if the market shifts or anything catastrophic happens, I can just go back to my group of investors and say, hey, funny things are happening. We just need to be a little bit more patient, wait it out, but we're still working. We all own the land, so it's our real estate asset. And the investors do just that. They're like, yeah, that's cool. But the bank, no. The bank wants their money, and they want it now, and if you don't pay it now, you're going to be foreclosed on. Unless you got some Trump negotiation skills, that's just how it is. And that's why a lot of developers end up getting foreclosed on, because their holding costs just become so expensive that they can't finish the deal. They end up losing. Okay. Guys, my life is so busy, let me tell you. The fact that, thank you to ChatGPT for helping me put this together, because Brittany's like, yeah, you can just go up there. Okay. All right, so let's talk about, I'm still on the pie chart page. Let's talk about what went into that $27 million. So 80 homes times an average sales price of $287. The homes are going to start at like the 190s and going to go up to like 290s, but the average is like in the 280s. So that equals $23 million. The $2.1 billion that I was just telling you about, that's the second line item that I'm getting from the city's housing department. Then we touched on the land, the 5 acres of the land for the Parks Department, $750,000. DPC. So I'm getting another $1 million from the City of Houston's permitting office. So the city says, first of all, there's only like $2 to $3 million in this bucket of money. It's first come, first serve. And you have to do a project that has public roads, and it has to be affordable housing. It is a lot of work, but I work with engineers who specialize in this, and they're the ones that put all my contract package together. But I did have an issue because my 43 acres applied for the DPC too, and they ran out of money. So Zuri was coming next, and I had to wait until the next fiscal budget for those funds to replenish in order to get that money, because we were really counting on that 1 million. Or my 7 million to investors would have been 6 million, which is, still fine, but I was like, no, we need that movie. We need that. Right? Okay. And then the TERS reimbursement. So this 800K, okay, so the way the TERS reimbursement works, do any of you live in the city of Houston? Like own a house? So, okay, TERS stands for, because there's some Californians in the room, TERS stands for a tax increment reinvestment zone. Yes.
What's her one?
Golf gate TERS. So if some of you own a house in the city, you may see a TERS on your property taxes. Or some of you are in real estate, you may see that TERS. So a portion of taxpayers' dollars goes to this TERS fund. So let's say inside this box, this is the TERS fund. All of your taxpayers' dollars, a portion of it goes into this fund. And then as the TERS, we reinvest that money back out for different infrastructure projects, different projects to keep the community up. Now, this 800K is all, it can be up to put it in here, but the only way for me to get paid this money back is when I have the value on the ground and those residents start paying into that tax. Does that make sense? And I'm only getting a portion. So when the financial advisor did the numbers, I'll only be getting like 130,000 every year until like the 3.2 million is paid out. So it comes out to like 15, 20 years. So you can look at it two ways. One, like mailbox money, just collect our check, right, every year. Or two, you can say, nah, I'll sell it as a receivable to an investor or some type of institutional buyer and take a haircut, and then me and my investors could just walk away and be done. Does that make sense? Any questions? Right, all right. Okay. And so the first page, y'all, this is how I read books. I just can't. I can't start from the beginning and go to the end. I never could. Okay. This is most of the people in this project. I have 28 items. This is most of them. On the way here, I was like, I forgot this person, that person. But I wanted you to see like who I'm using. And if you ever want to refer back to this information later, so you can see items 7, 8, and 9. You'll see DGE. They're like one of the top land planners, civil engineers in the city, and they're nationwide, if not international. And just look on their website, kind of understand more of what they do. And even if you have a site, maybe you have like a 10-acre site and you want just some type of high-level analysis, they can do that for you. Pay a few $1,000s and see what you can and cannot do. But anyway, I have a lot of people, so feel free to dive into this. Maybe some of the challenges. So number 10, there was an inactive fault line that ran through the property. So active fault lines are primarily found in like California. So wherever there's earthquakes, there's an active fault line. Houston has some inactive fault lines, and from what the experts shared with me is that over like 50, 100, 200 years, the ground will move like 2 inches. Very minimal. But I don't want to build on a fault line. Like, I don't want to build on anything that has fault on it. You know what I'm saying? Which is why originally we were supposed to sell the park for $1 million. The fault line ran through the park property. And so the tourist was like, oh, no, we need a discount. So that was fair. And item number 13. On the southwest side of my site, there was a proposed major thoroughfare that was going to run through the property. So the city's usually planning ahead, and they're understanding Houston's growth, and they're like, okay, we need to earmark this portion of the land to widen the roads and expand for vehicular traffic to come through, so that way it doesn't get too congested. But it took up so much of our property that we had to bring in a consultant to realign it so we can get more of our property back. That was a long process. But you know, it depends on what makes financial sense for your project. Oh guys, what else? 21, the Shity Bond. So I did have issues trying to get a bond because I have 100 acres out in Chapel Hill, and we have 1,500 acres out in Willis. And I already had 2 bonds out for like $3 million here, $3 million there. And then I was asking for 2 more bonds on my 18 acres and my 43. And the surety company was like, high risk, you're doing a lot, you're moving too fast, right? And I'm like, no, we got this. And so they wouldn't bond us. And so I remember, and this is, you know, relationships and collaborating with your partners. So I called the city and I was like, we're not gonna be able to get a bond. We get it denied. And the guy was like, call this other builder. He got a bond. See if they can help me. Sure enough, the guy got me a bond in a week. So when one door closes, another one opens, right? Oh, Brittany wanted me to touch the last page. She wanted me to touch on the mud. Have any of you ever heard of a mud municipal utility district? If you live in the suburbs, you usually have a mud tax that you pay. So this project in particular is not in a mud. We could have, but we chose not to because we didn't want to put that additional tax on the buyers. But in some cases, you have to use the mud. So my 43 acres has a mud. Essentially, what we're doing is, because we're putting all the infrastructure costs up front, so for example, with this project, the 3.7 million, the mud allows you to get reimbursed most of that 3.7 million as quickly as possible. And the mud sells bonds to investors, municipal bonds. Investors buy it, and then the people that are living in that community pay that mud tax, which pays those investors over time. Now, what that's covering is your water, your sewer, your drainage. And the mud, some people are like, oh, mud tax, da, da, da. And it's like, well, the muds actually do a better job of maintaining infrastructure than the city does. So the mud will be the ones that are maintaining over time, making sure everything is kept up. You guys don't have any issues in your community. So it's just a small group of consultants that are just managing the infrastructure in your community. And so I just listed out who all those consultants are. And you see more muds in the suburbs because it's usually in areas where you don't have access to city infrastructure. Because the city is not going to invest all that money to bring water lines and sewer lines to one project. Right? Oh, y'all, that's it. Any other questions? No question is a dumb question.
It's not a question, but it might be of service to somebody in the room. I mean, you put all your people that you use, and one of the things I realized early was using the right partners, using the right engineers, even though you might not be an experienced investor because they have a track record with people, then it kind of gets you a little bit more validity in front of somebody when you're trying to get financed. If you could speak to that as far as why you use certain partners and maybe not this small company, but this big company, if the relationship come along.
Excuse me. Yeah, so why I chose certain consultants, like bigger companies over the other. Yeah, for me, on these two city projects, I was not going to take any risks working with mom and pops. Like, nothing wrong, nothing wrong. I just have to make sure, like, I'm already a newbie, I'm like,
Ain't everybody be doing
we don't need the blind, we need the blind. I want to work with some of the best, and I know that in the city's eyes, they're one of the best.
I was gonna say, who is like your immediate team out of the 28? Who plus?
It was my internal team out of the 28. We are tiny but mighty. It is only, on salaries, only 3 of us. It's myself, my business partner, and my office administrator. Everyone else is consultants or subcontractors. So my project managers, 1099, my construction manager is 1099. I'm just not at the point yet where I want a bunch of salary people. I try to keep my overhead costs down because my overhead is already $50,000 a month. And that's on our salaries and our GC and my office space, insurance, our software. And so I'm just, growing strategically. I'm not opposed, but it just has to be the right time.
So this, one more question, sorry. I'm not sure if this is getting too much into your personal business, if it is,
Get on in.
out of the net cash flow of $7 million, and I know you say you do $50K a month overhead, about $600,000 a year. How much do you take home?
Yeah, so I'm on a small salary. I pay myself like $130 grand a year. And every now and then on certain projects, we'll give ourselves a little pop, just a little bonus here and there. But right now, our strategy is to keep all the money in the company and reinvest. Like you heard earlier, it's very capital intensive. And so as I'm looking at my next project, I gotta be prepared to put 50 grand down or 100 grand down in earnest money or option fee. I gotta do my due diligence, which could be $500,000 on certain sites. So we like to keep our business reserves high, and I live modestly, then I have other people pay, for other things, So hopefully play your cards right.
Hi, Vanessa. I'm Marlon Carruthers.
Hey, Mark.
I do have a question. Could you share with us what your scaling journey looked like from that first project up to maybe shy of this because this is so large, but what that looked like and what the time frame was?
Yes. So I started 10 years ago, and I was 25. This business is aging me, don't judge me. So I started 10 years ago, 10 lots for $10 with the Houston Land Bank. That's how I built my first 10 homes. And I could even go a little earlier than that. I invested with a builder, like $40K on a duplex. And that kind of opened up my eyes to new construction. So invest with the builder, $40K, 10 homes with the land bank. Then I was building for the land bank, building for Midtown Redevelopment Authority, and building for an investor. And that was like 35 homes. Yes, so then we jumped into 100 acres, out in Chapel Hill. So we bought 1 acre and then 100 acres. It was really, so because the city programs were taking forever. Like they were just moving so slow. And so I was getting frustrated and we were like, screw this, let's go to the county, let's do our own thing. That 100 acres was like a 18, 24-month project. And we pre-sold most of the lots. We only did infrastructure, it was only a land play. Bring your own builder, build when you're ready. We got our money back for the land, we got profit, it was good. Then came the 18 acres, the 43 acres, and the 1,500 acres, all at one time. And then now we're building for Avenue CDC, I'm building for Habitat for Humanity. Who else? And that's it, and I'm looking at like 10 other sites right now. But that's kind of been it over the 10-year journey.
She said that's just it over the 10-year journey.
Right. That's it.
I'm animated.
Okay, so the 40,000 that you invested originally, that's no experience. So you went from no experience to 10 houses, right? Okay. So
Well, no.
no. Okay.
Yes and no. So if y'all are wanting to be back all the way to,
I'm just trying to figure out like the
No,
money
it's
and
so-
stuff like that. You
it's a
know?
great question. So before that, I was a bank teller at Chase Bank in Midtown. And I met the real estate asset manager of Midtown Redevelopment Authority. And I was getting my real estate license. So I became a realtor first. And that real estate asset manager, because we built a good rapport, when I got licensed, I was helping him buy those lots as a realtor. And that's the program that I then learned later was for affordable housing, which is the programs I got in over here. And through my real estate commissions, I invested that money with a builder, a portion of my commissions. And I'm a very intentional person. I said, when I got my real estate license, I wanted to work with people who represented investors because I wanted to understand their formula, where they were buying properties, why they were buying it, what kind of returns they were getting. Worked under this white boy, he got a hedge fund client, and that's when I saw acquisitions on a volume scale. Like we were buying like 40 houses a month using Salesforce. They had acquisition managers. I was like, oh my, this is real deal, you know? I'm like, this is sophisticated. And I don't have a college degree. I'm just a go-getter, you know? I'm just like, where the money at? And I just run to it. I'm serious, y'all. Y'all don't understand. And that's a great question, but that's what happened earlier. So I did have some understanding of real estate prior to investing the 40K with the builder.
Right, but the 10 homes,
Uh-huh.
where did you get the experience to build the 10 homes?
Oh, the experience,
Yeah.
yes. So I partnered with a GC. Yes. So I partnered with a guy who had construction experience, which is my partner now, which is the Klein and Cole Klein. And we used his bank and we used his old suppliers. He got knocked out in 08, filed for bankruptcy. He had like 12 million of townhomes he couldn't sell. And he was a loan officer when I met him. And somebody told me he used to build. And so by that time, I had the 10 lots. So I had the connections with the city, and they would just like put you a team together. Find you a GC, find you a bank, go to work. So I had the land, I just didn't have the contractor. And then I talked to like 4 guys. 3 of them tried to go around me, and then he was the one. And then, yeah, 10 years later, we're still working together. Great question.
Yes, ma'am. So you mentioned that you invested like with like 30 investors. Was it like a crowd fund kind of like thing?
So she's asking about the 30 investors. It was not a crowd fund. This group was just multifamily investors that they're all like old people. Like, and I hate to say it like that, like, oh, you know what I'm saying? Like, they're just retired. They're just putting money in different places. And so as a group, they go after like multifamily deals. There's one guy that's like the ringleader. And he was the one that I had been talking to. And he just brought all of his investors on a Zoom. And he said, hey guys, instead of us going multifamily, because around that time, I don't know if y'all remember, Silicon Valley Bank had filed for bankruptcy, and a lot of commercial lenders were turning off their faucet to big commercial lending. So they weren't really finding good deals. So when my project came on board, they were like, okay, we were looking for another project. This is it.
Okay, so like how did you manage all that money coming from different people? Was it first like you specifically, or was it like a group of people that you worked with? Like how did you manage?
Yeah, so the question is, how is that money being managed? So we have 2 entities. We have Zuri Gardens Investors, LLC, and we have Zuri Gardens, LLC. The money from the investors all came to Zuri Gardens Investors. The manager is that guy who's the point of contact, and we're like a small member, co-client, small member in that. Zuri Gardens, so their money stays at Amaranth Bank, and when we need to draw the money, we don't tell them anything, but we just tell the one guy, like, hey, we need $1 million now to pay for the contractors. Right. And then he transfers that money to Zuri Gardens, and we pay the bills. Okay. So it keeps, and then I report every month to the investors all of our financials, so my balance sheet, my P&L, my general ledger. I report on where we are in terms of our construction progress. I report, have aerial photos, get the drone on site every month, and I have a shared Dropbox, and I just send them that every month. They're happy, and then we do a quarterly check-in Zoom. I never even met 30. I only met the one guy, you know, in person. They're always like, Vanessa, you're doing a great job. Thank you for trusting me. So that's it. You know, I try not to overcomplicate it, but it's a lot of work, right? You're managing people, expectations, and not only do I report to the investors, but I report to the city every month. Is there anybody else I'm reporting to? Sometimes we have to report to the bank, but they usually have their third party. But yeah.
Yes. With Ken Bell speaking about being a developer and the pros of development over actual building, what made you choose between either or are you?
So the pros and cons of developing versus building?
Yeah.
Honestly, I feel like we were kind of pushed into the development side because I had been building with these city programs and they were taking so long to release the land. And I wasn't interested in doing market-ready homes. I really just liked affordable. And so when we came across an opportunity to do land, it was really my business partner pushing me. And so I was just like, okay, you know, we did the feasibility analysis, everything checked out, the numbers checked out. So I was like, okay, let's do this. And then now we're like, Libby, I can't go back. You know, I can't go back.
We have a question over here.
Yes.
Thank you. I'm curious, you mentioned earlier that you were able to acquire property from the Houston Land Bank for $10 over 10 years ago. Can you help me understand? I know it may be different now. Yeah. Elaborate just a little bit on how you discovered that for that amount.
Through relationships. Through relationships. You know, I don't know, it's not hard for me to build relationships. I was telling some girls the other day, just earlier, I'm like, it's kind of easy to be a woman in this space, not sexist remark, but I'm like, because it's like, you just be kind to people and they give you information.
Right.
Opportunity. So, I had a friend who was the previous president of the land bank. Didn't even know. And he just knew what I was working on. And he's the one that told me, he was like, the land bank sells lots for $1 in Sunnyside. First of all, and I'm still new to Houston a little bit. I'm like, where's Sunnyside?
Right.
And then two, what do you mean $1? It's crazy. Well, I got to know Sunnyside. Let me tell you, I got to know Sunnyside real well. They were, okay, so through relationships. And then in Sunnyside, y'all, they were robbing us at gunpoint. Some guy, so I left my tile guy. The guy came in the house and told my trades that he was my uncle and he needed all of their tools. And I'm like, Effort, don't give them, give them nothing. I don't know that man. I don't have no family in Texas. He was actually shot at one of my trades. Thankfully, he missed. Prostitutes and drug dealers, like literally while we're working. It was crazy. But that was 10 years ago. Now, at least where we were is much better. But that's why they were for $1. Like, I'm gonna let you know that's why. But I had no idea.
We have another question over here.
Yes.
Hello, my name is Ziana, and thank you for being here. You're super knowledgeable. I really appreciate being here with all you lovely ladies. My question was kind of answered throughout other people's questions, but we're hearing a lot about the business side, but I would love to know, like, what are some of your personal philosophies, just like how you move through life, how you deal with business partners, family members, just being a human being, not just a woman of color, but just essentially your personal philosophy that's got you here standing and talking in front of us.
That's deep. But that's good. Because it's part of the makeup of who we are. So personal philosophy, I call myself a spiritual Christian. So that's one. I also listen to like meditation hypnosis almost every night because I do like studying the brain and I like to really rewire the neural networks in my brain. So any old like bad habits or old patterns or beliefs that I have that do not serve me, I like to get all that out. So a lot of people don't know that about me, but I do that. I love healthy foods. I like to go to Memorial Park and run. I like boot camp. I'm very big on like fitness and health. I feel like in order for you to really run optimally, you need to be as healthy as possible. I have 2 daughters, no longer with their dad, but he's a great guy. And y'all, my daughters are silly too, they get it from me. What else? I'm not a good friend. Yeah. So all my friends will tell you I'm not a good friend. So I'm not one of those friends you can call on, but I'm one of those friends that'll like inspire you and help push you to the next level. So I don't do pity parties. I'm probably an okay lover. Obviously I'm single. So but I'm always working on thyself.
Thank you for that. We have one last question.
Hey, how you doing? My name is...
You got me exposed! Sorry, go ahead.
Don't worry. customers. My name is Victor Mitchell. I do wholesaling out here. So my question isn't more so geared to wholesaling, but it's more so geared to how can the audience add value to you, and I guess even where you are right now. So not just finding land, obviously, but I mean, like, how can we try to figure out what we can do day to day to see how we can add value to, you know, the Vanessa Coles as well as other developers, I guess.
Yeah, great question. So you said you're a wholesaler? Yeah, I used to wholesale. Yeah. So, one, the good thing about wholesaling is that you have a network of investors. So, I don't know how you continue rapport with them, but if you ever want to do a project like this, you know, you talk to 10 of your investors and say, hey, if you want to put up $100 grand a piece and go into a development, that could be something. And then, yeah, maybe bringing us land. I always get emails about different sites. And that's all I can think of for right now.
Thank you so much for joining us for this special Build with Brittany episode, our replay of Coffee and Construction, which just happened this last April. If you want an invitation to the next Coffee and Construction or more information about how you can get access to all of the replays of the event, please check the description below. And also check out our playlist right somewhere around here. We will have all of our podcast episodes and our replays up in a special playlist so that you can get access to it. If you enjoyed this content, please let me know in the comments. If you have questions or things you want us to dive deeper in, please leave them in the comments. And until next time, keep building.